She's an award-winning documentary producer, a former TV personality, and now an author. St. Louis native Sheila Banks joins me next on City Corner. I'm Sarah Thompson and welcome to City Corner. Today I have the pleasure of talking with Sheila Banks. She's a St. Louis native who's gone on to do big things in the TV world, but now has a new book that we're going to talk about. Sheila, thanks for joining me.
Hey Sarah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. Bittersweet. So this is your new first novel. Tell me about Bittersweet. What's it about?
Bittersweet is historical fiction. Not to be confused with boring, because there's lots of great historical fiction out there now, but it starts in 1919, Louisiana. Takes us through the Tulsa race wars of 1921, and then we end up further on in Oklahoma and then Los Angeles, and it culminates 1965 Los Angeles, just after the Watts riots. It's the story of courage, perseverance, passion, fire for life. All of those things are embodied in my main character, Ellie.
And so tell me about Ellie.
Ellie. Ellie's a composite. I've had so many people say, well, is she real? Well, okay, so it's based on a true story. Ellie is a woman, she's based on my mother's oldest half-sister, whom is believed to have been the first black woman millionaire in Los Angeles in the 1940s. So I only knew snippets and bits and pieces about Aunt Agnes because, okay, this gets to be a little bit confusing. My grandfather had 2 sets of children.
Okay.
He was married the first time and had, I don't know, 5 or 6 kids. They had a lot of kids back then. His second marriage, my mother is the oldest of that group of siblings. So she had all these older half-sisters and brothers who were like 15, 20, 25 years older than her. Her oldest half-sisters are what I'm talking about. Now, I didn't really know Aunt Agnes that well because she was really old when I was born, but I heard these fascinating stories about her from my mother's, one of her other half-sisters, my Aunt Anita, whom I guess she was probably closest to, and she would tell me these fabulous stories. Well, Agnes did this, and Agnes did that, and well, Papa was like this, and Papa did that, and I was like, really? And I'm a kid listening, and I listened and paid attention. And one day it occurred to me, I said, you know what? I need to tell that story. So the process started, I'm going to say 10 years ago. Looking at notes that I had taken and pulled it all together, lots and lots of different tries, lots of incarnations. I started with what I call a movie treatment at 12 pages. Okay. And kind of fanned out from there. But Ellie is the central character. It's her family, the Corsi family, that goes through this kind of family saga led by her, because she is a woman, well, she was a woman, born in the early 1900s, born poor, colored, uneducated, not going to be educated, and a woman, all strikes against you. And this Ellie decided she wasn't going to have it. Those were her prescribed boxes she was supposed to stay in, and she fought tooth and nail to get what she wanted. Along the way, there's a whole lot of bitter, but that's the way life is, punctuated with the sweet.
And a whole lot of sweet. I was looking at Alfre Woodard's review or comment about your book, and she's a friend of yours as well. Yes. And I thought it was nice. She said it was, there's unflinching but plenty of sweet. So I wanted you to talk about, there's some really unflinching parts of this novel, and there's some really sweet parts. Tell me about some of the unflinching parts.
Well, you and I were talking earlier about one of the really horrible parts, and it's mentioned in the book jacket, so I'm not giving anything away. There was a childhood rape, and it was a horrendous occurrence when Ellie was 12 years old. She had lost her mother, and there was the rape, and then all kinds of things went into action. And I hate it so much to have to write that, but I needed that to be able to thrust and move the story forward and to show the strength of Ellie and the cohesiveness of her loving family who kept her alive and she kept them alive. There are a lot of real events, real historical events. I touched upon the Tulsa race wars of 1921, which I don't know about you, but when I was in school, I was never taught that. Most people, you know, they say, oh, really, that happened? Yeah, hello, Congress, and well, local legislators in Oklahoma, they're still giving out reparations to survivors or surviving family members or descendants of those people who were involved in that race war, where something like 300 people were killed. There was this beautiful section of Tulsa known as Greenwood, also known as the Black Wall Street, where people back then in the early 1900s, they had their own businesses. Every kind of business imaginable, beautiful homes. It was a little enclave inside of Tulsa, but the surrounding community, the greater Tulsa area, the white residents, unfortunately, they weren't having it.
And so
like, oh no, these N-words are getting too uppity. No. So they decided to burn it down, rape and pillage, which is exactly what did happen with the help of local and federal government.
So your book touches on that and goes all the way to 65, to the Watts
Goes
riot.
to the Watts riots, and bad things happen there as well, but something very good comes out of it. All of this makes Ellie stronger, and her family, and it pushes her to make some decisions that she wouldn't otherwise have made if the awful things hadn't happened.
So do you see, since Ellie's sort of this composite of your aunts and other family members, do you see any of yourself in Ellie, in that character?
Well, I like to think that all of us a little bit are Ellie, because we all have a dream, and all of us have a wonderful inner strength that we're born with. Sometimes I think we don't know how to tap into it, or sometimes we give up on what we really want to do. But I know that there are instances, I know that there are people who exist, well, like my aunt, who didn't give a damn. You know, come hell or high water, they were going to make it happen. They were going to do what they had to do to make their dreams come true. I think all people have that potential. Let's
talk about, I noticed in the writing, colorisms. There's I will say not an attention to detail, but there is on this family and the sort of mixtures of this family. Yes. Is that reflective of your background as well?
Well, it is. It's reflective of my background and the background of so many of us. I like to, of course, on the boxes, I'll check, Black or African American, but sometimes I check multicultural. Because I'll say, are you two or more races? Yeah. But then I'm thinking most of us probably are, but Ellie caught hell from both sides, and a lot of people did, especially in those days, because colorism exists on both sides of the fence. Black folks, or if you're really, really, really fair-skinned, you catch hell from black folks who don't think you're black enough, and then you catch hell from the white folks who think that you're too black. And I wanted to bring that point home because it still is with us, unfortunately.
No, I thought your descriptions or really of each of the characters was really quite nice about that, to really show the just multiplicity of the family as it relates to that.
Yes, I also wanted to show that people are people. Good and bad exists on both sides of the racial divide. No one group of people is any worse than any other. We all have our good and we all have our bad. And I like to think that we're all kind of blended up together.
So
that's how the world should be.
Fact versus fiction, because there's some really interesting things about your family in terms of, so your aunt was the seamstress and costume mistress for Judy Garland, is that correct?
Another aunt was. It wasn't Ellie.
Another aunt.
That's where the composite comes in, yes.
Okay.
My Aunt Anita, who was telling me all these stories, she was the wardrobe mistress for Judy Garland. I was like, wow, really, Aunt Anita? I must have been, I don't know, 15 years old when she was telling me this. She left us about, let's see, 5 years ago. She was 93 years old. This woman had the mind of an elephant, a steel trap. I could ask her all these questions, And she had the answer. She said, "Oh yeah." And some of the things I described in the book, when where Judy Garland, as a teenager at that time in the late 30s, actually would say, "Well, Anita, does this make me look fat?" People were saying it back then. "Anita, I want this water has to be room temperature with lemon," and just demanding. And my Aunt Anita was a grown woman, years older than her, but she talked down to her because that's the way it was done back then.
So those stories were incorporated into the novel as part of
I
Ellie's.
incorporated, I embellished.
So why not, why, just out of curiosity, why not write a nonfiction book about your family?
Because then I couldn't embellish as much as I did.
So, because sometimes it does take the ability to create fiction to be able to tell the essence of a time, or an essence in this case of your family. So I understand that. I can understand when filmmakers do that and authors do that. Was that kind of the idea behind it?
Yeah. The essence of the truth is there, but I had to, you have to make it interesting. Everybody might not have been interested in everything, but just as much as possible to. And I have a really big imagination. So, after all the research, months and months and months of research that I did, I was like, wow, this is amazing. And honestly, the pieces, the story just came to me. It came to me in big old scenes and dialogue, the way I was supposed to tell it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds a little freaky deaky, but that's kind of what happened.
I want to move on to the launch, because we have photos from your book launch. You did something down at City Hall. So tell me kind of what's going on with the book, where people can find it, and what's next for you. Because if I can reveal this on air, you actually are shopping around a screenplay.
That's right. That's right. I have written the screenplay myself, and God willing, and the creek don't rise, it'll be
made into a film.
be made into a movie. The book launch, I wanted to be here. Now, I've been based in Washington, D.C. There's me and my brother Richard at City Hall. I specifically wanted to be home, and my former boss, Francis Slay, said, well, hey, you can have it here in the Rotunda. So I jumped at that opportunity, and these are, some wonderful pictures from that evening, April 6th. It was actually a year ago, April 6th of 2012. Then the following weekend, I hightailed it back to the East Coast, had another book party in Harlem on Friday the 13th, and the DC book launch was that Sunday, 2 days afterwards, on the 15th. So some of those pictures were from DC. So it was all over the place, and I am still all over the place.
Well, from those parties, you have some photos with some celebrities that we're going to get to when we come back, because you had at your book signing Alfre Woodard, your friend, Evander Holyfield, some other people, and we're going to talk about your TV career too. I want to know how you sort of transitioned into being an author. So we're going to take a quick break, but we have a lot more with Sheila Banks. Please stay with us.
Yo, what up? It's your man Nelly, and you watch your STL TV. Experience the Lou all day.
Have a kit so you're ready for any emergency. Develop a plan for what you and your family will do before disaster strikes, and stay informed during severe weather any way you can.
You must be your fairy godmother?
It doesn't take a fairy godmother to tell you that the right fit means everything. Especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose one that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
Oh, that does make a difference.
Remember, their happily ever afters are in your hands. To find out more, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
Abandoned and lost. From the dark, cold streets of the city to a cage in the local shelter, to heaven, your lap.
Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. Today I'm talking with Sheila Banks. She's a former TV personality and award-winning documentary producer who's now an author and has a new book called Bittersweet. So before we went to break, we were talking about your launch parties here in St. Louis as well as out on the East Coast. So Alfre Woodard, tell me, she's a friend of yours. We have a photo of her at one of your book release parties.
Yeah, I've got to, full disclosure here, because Alfre also does a review on the back of the book. But see, Alfre and I have known each other since we were about 17. She was my roommate in college at Boston University. And yeah, that was out in Los Angeles. She and another girlfriend had a beautiful party for me in February.
Okay.
In LA, which we sold out. It was great. And Alfre was a tremendous cheerleader, but she's one of those longtime girlfriends who's been with me throughout, and this process has taken many, many steps, and she's been with me every step of the way. And
then tell me the photo we have one with Evander Holyfield. Was that here at St. Louis?
That was in my brother's dining room.
Wow.
I was here for Thanksgiving, and Evander and my brother Richard are very good friends. Okay. Evander was in town, and he and his girlfriend came over for Thanksgiving dinner. So afterwards, I said, "Hey, by the way, you know, I read it." We were talking about the book, and he was like, "Oh, wow, I want one." So yeah.
So what people can't see in that photo is he's actually holding the book.
Holding the book. Yes.
And then Benjamin Crump, the attorney for the Martin family.
You may or may not know, but my brother Richard and my brother Vincent both are attorneys. Richard knows pretty much everybody. He and Ben have been friends for, I don't know, 20, 25 years, something like that. Long time friends. Richard, in fact, was one of his mentors. Ben was here during the Missouri Black Expo. And it's a wonderful speaker, and it's tremendous what he's done, but the circumstances are so sad. That's what I was telling him. We were talking about the book, and one of the chapters is, it kind of reverberates with what happened, of course, with Trayvon Martin. It's like, yeah, you know, it's so awful. 100 years ago, nearly 100 years ago, I'm writing this scene. Well, I didn't write 100 years ago, but it happened in 1919, and there's this scene where the dad is terrified of his 17-year-old son not having come home after sundown, and the Ku Klux Klan was riding. Now, we don't have to worry about the Klan anymore, but you've got the Zimmermans of the world to worry about, and other people.
Yeah, there's things that do happen today that you think fiction. Someone couldn't even write this, but it really does.
Yeah,
it really does happen.
It does happen. But that's how Ben and I just came to talk about it.
Okay, and how that. So this is your first book. Before this, you have an extensive career in TV, communications, documentaries. Let's talk about. So I have to throw this in there because you are one of the original co-hosts at BET. Tell me about your career at BET.
Yes. Oh Lord, I have been around such a long time. Yeah, I started out in. I started after college. I did a stint at the TV station in Boston, and then I came here for a minute. Then I ended up in DC, where I worked at WETA, and those are WETA pictures. And at the same time, in those days it was so easy. Someone introduced me to Bob Johnson, and I remember he and I had drinks in Georgetown, and he said, you know, I'm doing this show called Video Soul. How'd you like to co-host that? You know Donnie Simpson, don't you, on whatever the radio station is, I can't remember. I said, yeah, sure. So, yes.
That's just how it came about.
That's how it came about. And I ended up being at BET for, I don't know, seven or 8 years. But let's see, after Video Soul, I hosted a show called This Week in Black Entertainment. Bob had wanted me to stay full time, but I was at the public TV station where I was producing the documentaries. And once I won an Emmy, I was like, oh no, I like this. I like this. I need to still be a serious journalist on this side. But I had my fun girl hat, interviewing celebrities. Girl, that was nothing but fun.
Yeah.
That was on this side, so it was very well rounded. Most of it happened. Not all of it. Most before my daughter was born.
Did you think back then did you always want to write a book, or was this kind of idea always sort of brewing in you, or was it something that happened at a point in your career where you thought, I've done the TV thing, you've done a lot, I've won the awards, done the documentaries, done the entertainment side, I want to write books now?
Writing a book is something I've always wanted to do. I wanted to write a book since I first picked one up when I was about 3 years old. That's when I learned how to read. honest to God, I wanted to write something. So as a kid, and I'm talking a little kid in grade school, I wrote plays that my friends acted in. You know, you make your parents and all the grown folks come down to the basement for the little plays we would put on, and then the grown folks had their own parties. I worked for newspapers in high school, even back in the day. During my senior year, did a column for the St. Louis Argus.
Oh, okay.
At that time. And so, it's always kind of I want to do this. I always wanted to write, always. And my jobs, being a TV reporter, sure, you write your own stories. And that was very cool, but you're writing for, a minute 20. I love documentaries because documentaries to me are like making little movies. It's just creating something out of nothing. I love that. But I still had the book. I had it in me. I knew I wanted to do that. And then, I morphed into PR, which is what TV people sometimes do. You kind of, morph into that. And that's fine too. I am grateful for all of my experiences, but I still always wanted to write. So
what would you say when you reflect upon your career and where you're sort of headed now, what's kind of that one piece of advice you have for other people about how to kind of transition through skills, how to stick with it? I mean, you've been doing I guess what I'm trying to say is you've been doing what you've been doing for a long time, and been doing it well, and doing it exceptionally well. And to really be able to transition from TV to writing a book and have such a great response to it, you're obviously a good writer. So I mean, what do you kind of hold true to your principles? What are those?
Excuse me. Stick with what you love. If you and that, you hear that and it sounds kind of cliche, but it's true. If you love something, we're all given gifts, and if you love something, that's your gift. And I think that you've got to explore it and use it up as much as possible, because it's a present, and you don't want to check out of here without having opened your present up to see what your gift is. And there's lots of heart, just like Ellie's trip. There's a whole lot of bitter, and we won't even go into that. But
then there's the sweet moments. There are
the sweet moments, and the sweetness of sticking with it and accomplishing something. You have a really sweet moment. If we can segue into kids, but you have a 2-year-old. My daughter is now 24, but sticking with the sweetness. I mean, when she arrived, I just love where you are in your life. I loved that so much, but I love every day with her, even more, and the things that she's accomplishing and watching her, and that she's following in her mother's footsteps. She's getting her master's degree in film production.
And that she might be.
We're going to be working together.
Yeah.
Me and my baby girl, yes, we will be working together.
I want to, and that's good to hear. It's good to hear when you've reached a point in your career to hear people say, still pursue what you love. I think that's good, because sometimes you can feel a little jaded, or that it has to be about other things like money. So that's good to hear that. I want to be sure to include, because we have these great photos of some celebrities that you've interviewed in your career, to bring those up. So first we have Lena Horne. What was that like? I have to ask you this, because as soon as I saw these photos, I go, wow, that is so awesome that you got a chance to talk to Lena Horne.
I almost forgot that I had that. It was in one of my photo albums that happens to be with me. She was gracious. She was wonderfully funny, and just so kind. Just kind. That was at BET, and I was doing This Week in Black Entertainment in her hotel room, as you can tell. It was just wonderful. I couldn't believe that I was sitting down with Lena Horne. I couldn't believe it. But she was wonderful. She was wonderfully gracious. I loved her.
And then after this, I think we have Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold. Now that happened. That happened before. Whenever that movie Predator came out, we had gone up to New York for one of those, whatever those junkets are, those movie junkets. And so it was my turn to slip in, with all the network reporters and everybody who's all the entertainment shows trying to get their questions in. So yeah, it was fun. It was big fun. I enjoyed it.
And then who's our next word? Tina Turner. That's Lena Horne and Tina Turner. That's pretty big.
Oh, Tina. Now, I was fortunate enough to actually interview Tina maybe three or four different times in different hair stages, hers and mine, because her hair kept getting shorter. I do things like pre-Morgan and post-Morgan. That was pre-Morgan. another picture that I have, the next time I interviewed her, my daughter was a little girl, and Tina had short hair then. So, but she's just a wonderful person to talk to. And you know, you talk to people and they're just so different from what you see out there. And we were talking about, she was saying, yes, I have to do, you know, these dinners and lunches with these executives' wives, and sometimes, you know, they look down on you and you haven't been to college, or I said, really? She said, oh yeah, girl. You know, she had on a suit. Last time I interviewed her, she had a suit on. And I was like, whoa, this is so unteen-like. She said, yeah, I've got to, you know, put my corporate face on and be with these women who, no matter what I have accomplished, you know, they're like, you're just a recording artist. She's, you know, it's fabulous.
Yeah, well, no, that's interesting to hear. Do you have any, what's the biggest highlight of your career thus far? Is it the book?
I'm going to say my book. Yeah, I mean, I loved TV. TV was so much fun. I loved all of it. But this is my dream come true.
And what's next? What's next as we wrap things up? What's next in store for Sheila Banks?
Well, as we noted, yes, I've written the screenplay and actively shopping it around. And it, you know, it's with some folks who could make a difference, but it's so hit and miss. You never know. That industry, that motion picture industry, is so tight and can be so, it's so mercurial. And it's so subjective. You don't know what someone's going to like, what they're going to see. So my prayer is that they are going to like what they see when they read Bittersweet, the book and the screenplay.
And that we can see it on the film. That would be
we
wonderful.
can see it, yes, Lord.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Well, we have the information for you. You can pick Bittersweet up, order it online at Amazon.com. BarnesandNoble.com, or your local bookstore. We have photos of it on the bookshelf, so I know it's around here.
Bookshelves at Left Bank Books.
Left Bank Books, fabulous place. Though you can go pick it up right now or order it online and head to the Bittersweet by Sheila Banks website for some inside information, what's fact and fiction, some more information on Sheila and her background, and most importantly, a chance to order the book. But thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you.
And you'll have to come back, whether it's for book 2 or some other projects that you're working on, but thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And thank you at home for watching City Corner. Please keep it here on STL TV Live, Experience St. Louis.